Hey everyone, it's Scott Norris from the virtualizeme.net.au. That's with an S, not a Z. And today I'm just doing a video on just a run through of a distributed deployment of vra7. vra7 was recently released, and I thought, I was doing it at home in my home lab, so I may as well record it, put it up, and hopefully someone might find it useful. All right, going forward, as we've see here, when we've got a new deployment wizard, which has dramatically improved the, I guess, the deployment ease of VRA. Previously, it was a manual process, and in a distributed deployment, there was a lot of bits and pieces that you needed to do, and it was, I guess, complex in a way. The new wizard works really well in the GA version. And going forward, as we select between minimal and enterprise, so here we'll do enterprise, and I'm gonna be doing what would be classed as a medium deployment in the reference architecture, or close to, which is just two IaaS boxes. The IaaS boxes are going to be doing everything, but they can be obviously broken out. So I've already gone through this deployment before, so I've gone back and I thought, well, I may as well record it. And going forward, we select that we want to do infrastructure as a service. Do next. Here I do want to use a time server, so I'm going. And then we've got to hit the change time settings down the bottom. All right, it's fine. They're my two IaaS boxes. So I've already previously installed the agent, which is the MSI up here, and that talks back to this server. So before the install, what I should also do is part of distributed deployment. You've got a load balancer in front of it. Now we want to disable the health checks on these. So I'll just make sure that I haven't that I've got them. So vra and the web. So and I want to disable the second one of each of them. So the one I did, I think that's the one I just did. Cool. So they're already previously set up. And now for the monitors too, there is a documentation on the load balancers, how to configure them for F5 and for NSX. One thing I will state is that you do require the /r/n at the end, which isn't in the documentation, for both the web and the cafe appliance. So that should be okay now. Yep. Alright. So essentially I've just disabled the health checking on those because there isn't anything to check yet, and I've just made sure that all traffic will go to the first one instead of the two until after. So let's go back to, as we go next. Here we entered the other vRealize application cafe appliances. So in this case, it's my second one. So I've got two nodes and just the root and the password for that. Obviously, if you had more, you add them in. Next, we want to accept the certificate for it, the ones that we've added in. Server roles. So here we've got to choose a primary web. So we can't choose obviously two of them. Other webs. So manage a service. Let's do both of those as well. Yep. And two dem workers, and I'm only going to do one agent here. I've only got one agent needs to be deployed per endpoint. So I've only going to have one vCenter endpoint. So that will do here. We go next. Now the prerequisite checker, most mine should be okay, but we'll run that. What's really good is this will really, if you do come up with, you can have, as long as you got IIS installed, um, this will pretty much fix everything. The one thing that it won't fix though is that you got to make sure that you have whatever service account that you want to use as the running the services that has got log on as batch rights. Which obviously this doesn't check for, but during the installation will fail if that's not there. So that's one thing to make sure of. So now we just wait till this prereq check is done, and my home load's nice and slow, so hopefully it doesn't take too long. So just looking at the first one, it says that my MSDTC settings is not configured correctly. I'll just wait till the other one comes back. Okay, so I'm guessing this one's going to be MSDTC as well. And let's see if that can fix. Okay, so hopefully that has fixed the problem. We see that it's been fixed. And so let's go on. So here we enter the VIP DNS name. So here I've just got a dash dis for distributed. So I know which ones they are. So put that in. Single sign-on, we use the administrator password that we want the basically the administrator at vsphere.local account to be. Next up, we have our IaaS host. So again, we've got the vra IaaS dist VIP, and here manage a service. I'm just going to point it. I haven't got a VIP set up for that, so I'm just going to point it to the first IaaS box, which is going to be my primary. As you know, that the manager service can only be running on one of the boxes at any given time. So we'll go next, and obviously the database security. Here I want the database, so I've got my SQL server. I want to create a new database with the Windows authentication. Okay, next. And obviously during this we can validate on each step if we want to, or you can wait to the end to do a validation. In here, so okay, so we want to use, in this case I'm just going to, so I'm lazy, use the default website with port 443, and then my service account will be vRealize me. Oh, that didn't work very well. Get next. Here we want the manager service, so I want my first one to be active, but I'm going to use the same service account for all of them. Obviously these can be different depending on what your requirements are. Oh, look, where's my password? And next. I'll swap these around. I want this to be dem01 and dem02. Again, I'm going to use the same. Agent. So vCenter. And in here, vSphere. Here we can either generate a certificate, which I've already done, or we can import our own. And just on FYI, if you're doing a distributed install and you're not doing SSL termination, it's a lot easier and generally recommended just to do the pass-through. You require the additional SAN names for your nodes as well as the VIP name and IP addressing. So I'm just using generated ones for this install, as it's only a lab, and same with the web. And again, the manager will generally have the same as your web service if they're running on the same box. But obviously you can split them out. So here we can see the load balance address, the members. So it'll only show you primary members in this case. Next. Now we validate. So I think before we go on, I need to make sure that log on as batch rights is being set. User rights assignment. Okay, cool. That's been set. Just want to make sure. Otherwise I have to revalidate. So I'm going to just trust myself that that's set there too. Let's go back and validate. Okay, that failed. Awesome. So I spelled my domain wrong, so that's going to be lots of failures there. I'll go back and fix that up. So I'll just go back through all this because I stuffed up. That's cool. So this is sort of showing, I guess, in a good way that the validation checks the majority of things. Generally for pass validation, it will pass the install. That's the problem with copy and pasting when you do your first one wrong. I think that's everything. So we'll just go back down to validation and revalidate. Alright, that's a lot better. So we go next. Here is where you'd create your snapshots. So you can come back to where you left off if there happens to be a mishap. But as seen before, I'd done that previously, but yet still during the validation, the MSDTC still says it was wrong. So I'm not sure how that works, but we'll continue on. As soon as you go next, we can install. What's good is we can actually retry failed and retry other ones which weren't available in the beta. So we hit install. This will take an amount of time depending on how many servers you've got, type of hardware you've got, etc. But it shouldn't be too long. Alright, so now the install's all done. As we can see there, everything went through fine. Next. We enter a license key. Which I won't do here. Yep. And then we get to the initial content configuration. So the initial content configuration creates a user account, and in that user account has a predefined catalog item, and that catalog item is really a vra7 that will run through and build up your endpoints and do all your basic configurations. Recommend doing it, but it's best to do that before creating your own one. So if you create your own one and you go back and do it, then certain endpoints in that may overlap and the workflow will fail. So yeah, give it a go. Highly recommend it. Just put in the password for the user. Awesome. All done. Yay. So it's really as easy as that. I won't go into configuring it. That can be a blog post or a video for another time. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'll release one for a basic install, but that won't be for a little while. Anyway, cheers. Bye. Oh, before I go, I should also mention now that the install's finished, we go back into F5 and we re-enable the pools. So I've gone in here and re-put my health monitors on active, but now we also got to um, enable the additional nodes. So then it should come up fine. So that's that one, and the IS web. Awesome. They're back. Sweet. All up and running. And my new woo. Sweet. Done. All right. Cheers. Bye.